And that provides the perfect introduction to our next speaker, David Sloan Wilson. He's an acclaimed evolutionary biologist and president of ProSocial World. He is focused on how we can build productive, equitable and collaborative groups for a world that works for all. So David, it's really wonderful to have you with us again. Welcome.
Thank you, Susan. And I waited until I listened to this morning's session in order to write out my comments. And I'm going to read them with apologies just to be efficient. So I want to take off on a point that Christina Bethel made this morning, which is how much of the knowledge that we have for improving the human conditions is new. She said that even the fact that continents drift wasn't fully accepted until the 1960s. And so we need to think of the last 50 years as not just 10% of the scientific revolution. Bodies of knowledge have emerged during that period that are foundational for how we think and therefore how we act. We need to think of ourselves as looking in historic times, I think, intellectually. One of these bodies of knowledge is complex systems science, which required the advent of widespread computing ability. So for the first time, we have scientific tools for studying the kind of interdependence that manifestly exists in the world and that spiritual traditions have appreciated for millennia, but which previously could only be described in words. Another is the expansion of evolutionary theory beyond the study of genetic evolution to include such things as human cultural evolution, the individual person as an open-ended evolutionary unit, and artificial intelligence, which could equally be called artificial evolution. This is called generalized Darwinism, and it provides a new scientific toolkit for evolving the kind of world that we're envisioning in this conference. In particular, generalized Darwinism tells us that everything we call prosocial, oriented towards the welfare of others or society as a whole, can evolve by a Darwinian process, but only when special conditions are met. When these conditions are not provided, then the first two noble truths of Buddhism pertain. Life consists of suffering caused by agents that evolve to satisfy their cravings at cross purposes with each other. This is true for both nature and the human condition. Against this background, I must take issue in a friendly way with something that Gary Zukav said this morning, which is that our choice is to choose love over fear. This kind of statement, while inspirational, doesn't recognize the inherent vulnerability of loving behaviors in a Darwinian world. If we really want love to thrive, we must be smart enough to provide the special conditions required for loving behaviors to outcompete less loving alternative behaviors. And this is true at all scales, from a single pairwise relationship to international relations. These two bodies of knowledge, complex systems science and generalized Darwinism, are reflected to a degree at this conference in the presentations and members of the audience, but I know from experience that much more integration is needed, especially in the case of generalized Darwinism, which is so new that otherwise brilliant, well-read, and open-minded people simply have not encountered it yet. So catalyzing awareness and application of these two bodies of knowledge should be given a very high priority. I'll end my section by returning to the topic of scale. While much can be done at small scales, such as creating nurturing social environments for individuals, other problems must be addressed at larger scales, such as global economic systems predicated on short-term profit maximization. This is the system that creates problems such as pathological food systems, overuse of medications, toxins in the environment, the global warming, and so much more. Thus, rethinking economics and governance at the national and international scales must be part of our agenda for improving the health of people, places, and planet. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Your work is really interesting, and I did mean to say earlier that you've written many influential books on connecting evolutionary theory to practical aspects of human life and collective well-being. So I hope someone can find a link to those in the chat and read more about your inspirational work, because I think we really do need to look and understand the social, how we create more pro-social environments, especially if we are to transition to these new ways of being. So it would be great for us to continue that conversation, perhaps in the discussion
I
later.
saw myself fitting into the society and social contract box of Simon
Yes, I thought
Michaud's.
so too. I think you
Just
should
let
chat to.
me just put me in charge of the society and social contract box, please.
That's wonderful. Thank you.